our religion, most of the time we know exactly how we are supposed to feel. We have happy days, we have sad days, we have Chagim, and we have Tisha B'Av. And it's true, we have Rosh Hoshana and Yom Kippur where it's a little bit more confusing because on the one hand we have the book of life and the book of death open in front of us. But on the other hand, we know who the judge is. It's Avinu Malkeinu, and it's true, it's Malkeinu. And he judges based on what's going on, but he's also Avinu. It's our Father judging us, so it's true we have a bit of a strange feeling when it comes to Rosh Hoshana and Yom Kippur. We have that fear, the yira, to go along with the simcha. And the truth is that Hoshana Rabbah gives us this same struggle as well. If we look in the halacha, we will see that tomorrow morning in davening, the Shulchan Aruch, the Beit Yosef, tells us that we are going to be saying Mizmorim Harbe. We are going to be saying many psalms. Shacharis in the beginning in Psukei de Zimra is going to look like that of Yom Tov. But when we go a little further in the halacha, he tells us we are not going to say Nishmat, which is specifically said on Yom Tov. And we are going to say Mizmor Latoda, which is specifically on days of Chol. And the Rama goes on, and the Rama tells us that we should go to the mikvah, just like on Yom Kippur. We try to go to the mikvah before. The same thing applies to Hoshana Rabbah. And just like we light many candles on Yom Kippur, we should make sure to light candles on Hoshana Rabbah as well. We have a minhag to wear a kittel on Yom Kippur. We have a minhag to wear a kittel on Hoshana Rabbah as well. What is going on with this day? We see that there is a tremendous parallel between Hoshana Rabbah and Yom Kippur, but what exactly is the connection? The Chassam Sofer, the great sage in the 18th century, passed away on Chaf Hei Tishrei, the 25th of Tishrei, just a few short days away. And they say that on his deathbed, he turned to his Talmidim and he said, you know what? I made it through Rosh Hashanah, I made it through Yom Kippur, but I couldn't make it through Hoshana Rabbah. Hoshana Rabbah has an element of judgment to it. The Gemara tells us that we are judged on the mayim, we're judged on our parnasa, how much money we are going to make during the year is going to be determined on Hoshana Rabbah, so there is an element of judgment to the day. But at the same time, many people are going to be going to work tomorrow. There's no real Isser Malacha. You're kind of allowed to do muktzah. There's no issue, so what exactly is this day all about? What are we supposed to feel on this day? How are we supposed to relate to this interesting day? Additionally, there is a fascinating medrash. The medrash tells us that there was an unbelievable conversation between Hashem and Avraham Avinu. Hashem and Avraham Avinu says the medrash are both yichidim, they're both unique. Obviously, God is the only God, and Avraham Avinu was really the only one who believed in God. And Hashem turns to Avraham Avinu and he says, you know what? I have a name, Aleph Hey Yud Hey, which the numerical value is 21. You, Avraham, are the 21st person to ever live in the history of the world. Maybe he was the 20th, Machlokes, maybe Noach counts as 2, whatever. The Medrash tells us that Avram's the 21st person in the world, and says Hashem, I am going to give your children a day of atonement, a day of kapara, which is going to be on the 21st of Tishrei, which is going to be Hoshana Rabbah. It's going to be a special day of atonement, a special day of connection, and this is what I am going to give to you and your children in honor of you, Avraham Avinu. And the question is, what does Avraham have to do with Hoshana Rabbah? We know we have the Ushpizin, where we welcome in different figures into our sukkah. Tonight's supposed to be the night of David HaMelech. We already had Avraham Avinu. What does Avraham Avinu have to do with Hoshana Rabbah? And I think in order to answer these questions, we have to ask another question, and through that develop an extremely fundamental idea, which is something that's supposed to carry us through these days. We know when it comes to Sukkot, as opposed to any other holiday, there is a special emphasis on simcha. We're supposed to be happy. We refer to it in the davening as Zeman Simcha Seinu. It's an especially happy time. And in fact, when the Torah talks about Sukkot, it says the word simcha 3 times. But when talking about Pesach, it only says it once. And when talking about Shavuos, it never even says it once. Sukkot is a tremendous time of simcha, happiness. Actually, my father-in-law, Rabbi Avi Har, he's now a Rebbe and he was a podiatrist, and he told me when he was in podiatry school, there was an attending physician in the hospital who was a devout Catholic. And around this time of the year, he went over to my father-in-law and he said, you know, you Jews, you guys got it all wrong. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to party, you're supposed to have fun, you're supposed to enjoy yourselves, let loose, and then you go to atonement. have the time of your lives, and then go pray for forgiveness. But you guys are going, sitting all day in synagogue, not eating or drinking and begging for forgiveness the entire day. And then you go and party for 8 days. Doesn't seem to make any sense. You guys have it all backwards. Obviously, that comment comes from a severe misunderstanding of what our simcha is. Our simcha is being lifnei Hashem, connecting to God. But the point is that simcha is such a key element when it comes to Sukkot. What is this focus of simcha? How are we supposed to understand this? The Rambam, in the end of Hilchos Lulav, tells us the way we are supposed to approach all of our mitzvos, the way we are supposed to approach our avodas Hashem, and he tells us we have to make sure to live besimcha. We have to enjoy our avodas Hashem. We have to view it as an absolute privilege. We have to be excited to serve God. How does the Rambam know this? The Rambam quotes the pasuk, Tachas asher lo avati es Hashem elokecha besimcha uvetov levav. The Rambam is quoting the pasuk in Parshas Kisavo, where the Torah is talking about the worst curses that can possibly happen to a person. The 98 curses, the tochacha, things that we don't even wish upon our enemies. The worst of the worst curses. And says the Torah, why does this happen? What does someone do to deserve the tochacha? Says the Torah, Tachas asher lo avati es Hashem elokecha besimcha uvetov levav. Because you did not serve God with the proper happiness, with the proper simcha, that's why you are going to get the tochacha. And the question is obvious. We have a guy here who goes to shul. He sets aside time to learn. He keeps kashrus. He keeps Shabbos. He's doing all of the mitzvos. Okay, he's not so happy about it. He's not so excited about it. That guy is going to get the tochacha? That's the guy who's going to get these 98 curses? The person who's doing all the mitzvos, he's just not so happy about it? Really? Tachas asher lo avati es Hashem elokecha besimcha v'tov levav. That's why you're not going to get any blessings and you're going to have all of these curses. What's going on? Many of the Achronim, including Rav David Povarsky, explains that no. That is not supposed to be taken literally. The reason you are getting the curses for the tochacha is because there were some severe sins that were being done. So what's the pasuk talking about? Says Rav David Povarsky. The pasuk is telling us, how did we get to this point where we are sinning in such a severe manner? We're children of God. We were born so tahor. We were born so pure. What did we do to deserve, or what did we do to get down to this level where we are committing these sins, which put us on the level to receive the curses of the tochacha? Says the Torah, Tachas asher lo avati es Hashem elokecha besimcha uvetov levav. Because we did not serve Hashem besimcha, because we treated Judaism as a burden and not as a privilege, that's how it came to the situation. That's how we came to the point where we are sinning to the point where we deserve the curses of the tochacha. And this idea of viewing Judaism as a privilege and not as a burden is echoed many times throughout Chazal, and I think most explicitly in a fascinating tshuva from Rav Moshe Feinstein. Rav Moshe is talking about why so many people have gone off the derech. Why are people leaving our religion? Why are they leaving God? Why are they leaving our mitzvos? And Rav Moshe was talking in a time where there was a tremendous challenge that people faced. Don't come to work on Saturday, you may as well not show up on Monday. We cannot even judge in the slightest how difficult that may be. We're coming off a time where we're taking off half of September and October. And these people don't come to work on Saturday, you may as well not show up on Monday. What a difficult challenge it is. We cannot even judge at all. But, says Rav Moshe, so while these people were able to pass these nisyonos, and many people did continue to keep Shabbos and go from job to job, when they came home, they said, oh, it's so difficult. What a tough time we're going through. This is so hard to keep Shabbos. They were doing it. But that was the attitude they were doing it with. They were going home and showing their kids and their families, yeah, we're doing it, but it's just so hard. It's so difficult. And now these children are thinking to themselves, my parents are tzaddikim. They're able to withstand these nisyonos, but me, why should I even bother? What am I doing? Look at all these difficulties they're going through. Look how much struggle they're going through. I don't need this. Says Rav Moshe, this is what led so many people off the derech. You know, they tell the story of a kindergarten class where there was a Shabbos Ima and a Shabbos Abba. There's a custom to have a Shabbos party in the kindergarten class on Friday, and they have a balabayas, they have a head of house, the man and the woman. So this kindergarten kid is the Shabbos Abba, and they tell him to go down and make Kiddush. So it's time for this kindergarten kid to make Kiddush, and the teacher says, okay, the floor is all yours. And he sits down and he says, what a tough week. The idea is that we need to make sure that we view our Judaism as a privilege. It is an honor that we have, that we get to serve God. We get to serve the creator of the world, and we need to make sure we feel that way. And yes, it's not always easy, and we're going to struggle, and it's going to be difficult. We are humans. We're not angels. God understands that. But we need to make sure that our overall mindset is that it is a time of simcha, that it's something that we are excited about. There's a fascinating Gemara in Tainus on Daf Chaf Beis. The Gemara tells us there was a man who had a one-on-one conversation with Eliyahu Hanavi. Unbelievable. He had the chance to pick the brain of Eliyahu Hanavi. And he can ask him any question in the world. And they're in a crowded street, and he decides he's going to ask him, who in this street is Zocha to get Olam Haba? Who's going to the next world? Who's going straight to heaven? Now, Eliyahu Hanavi surveys the crowd, and he says, oh, those guys walking, those guys are getting Olam Haba. So this guy runs to those guys, and he says, I need to ask you, what do you do? What's your profession? What makes you guys so great? And they said, well, we're happy people, and our job is to make other people happy. Maybe they were comedians, machlokas exactly what they were, but they were people who just tried to make other people happy. That was their goal, and that's how they were merited. That's how they were zocha to get Olam Haba. This idea of simcha is so important, and when we think about simcha in our avodas Hashem, it is especially clear when we talk about Talmud Torah, when we talk about the learning of Torah. The Sakhachover Rebbe, known as the Avnei Nezer, wrote a tremendous amount of Sfarim, many Hasidic Sfarim, and he also wrote a sefer known as the Eglei Tal. The Eglei Tal is a sefer on Hilchos Shabbos where he goes in depth into every sugya, so many Rishonim, Achronim, everything. And he talks about in his introduction a common misconception that he needed to crush. The Eglei Tal would walk around and he heard people saying, you know what, if I'm enjoying my learning, then I must be doing something wrong. If I'm liking it, then I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for God. God only wants me to do things that are a struggle. He doesn't want me to actually enjoy. Says the Eglei Tal, this is a tremendous mistake. Says the Eglei Tal, the Adarab, it's just the opposite. Ki zehi ikar mitzvahs limud haTorah. This is the key part to limud haTorah. Lio sos v'sameach u'misaneg bilimudo. You need to be happy. You need to be excited about your learning. V'az divrei Torah nivlaim b'damo. And then the Torah can really enter into your heart. And then the Torah can become a part of you. U'me'achar shenene midivrei Torah hu nase davuk la Torah. And after we can enjoy our Torah, and after we can enjoy our service of God through the Torah, then it becomes part of us. That is the ideal way to learn. We are supposed to enjoy all that we do. Now, after understanding the importance of simcha, I think we can now go back and answer everything that was bothering us. Sukkot comes on the heels of Yom Kippur and leads us up to Hoshana Rabba. And on Yom Kippur, we assume that after all of the davening, all of the pouring out of our hearts, that we have become different people. We are now people that we hope merit the good din, the ideal din from Hashem, that we can get everything that we think that we want. And that's where we are left on Yom Kippur. And when we think about it, we are bombarded with mitzvos the second Yom Kippur ends. Until now. The Ramah tells us in two places, actually. The second that Yom Kippur ends, you should focus on going to build your sukkah. And we know you get all the materials, you build the sukkah, you get the arba minim, the lulav, the esrog, 2-3-day yontifs. Unbelievable amelus, it's so much work. We are bombarded with mitzvos. Why are we so bombarded with mitzvos right now? So perhaps we can explain that right after Yom Kippur, when we are now new people, zocha for a new din, Hashem says, let me see how different you guys are. I'm going to give you so many mitzvos right now. Are you going to treat them as a burden? Or are you going to view them as a privilege? Are you going to be excited to do them? Or are you just going to say, oh, another mitzvah, building the sukkah, shaking the lulav again? How are we going to view the mitzvahs? And obviously, again, we are human. And it's normal to be tired. And it's not always easy. But our general mindset, what's it going to look like? And that's why there's such a focus of simcha on sukkahs. We want to have 7 days of simcha. We want to have 7 days of extreme happiness, where through every single one of these mitzvah actions, we make sure to have this proper simcha. We have this attitude that we're supposed to have to show Hashem that we are now different people and that we can zocha. We can be zocha to the ultimate good din on this last chance of Hoshana Rabba. So it's true, Hoshana Rabba does have an element of Yom Kippur to it, because it's our final test from Hashem. We have all of these mitzvos. How are we going to view them? How are we going to do them? Are we going to take advantage of this Zman Simchasenu and live with a happiness, with a pleasure, with the privilege of the fact that we get to serve the Creator? Or are we just going to, I'm tired already. We got to push. We can get through Hoshana Rabbah. Now, what's the connection to Avram Avinu? Avram Avinu was given the hardest test possible in mankind. His entire life's work was preaching morality and ethics. No avodah zarah, don't shecht your children. Avram waited 100 years for his child, and he's told to go and shecht his child against everything he had preached his entire life. We would think Avram would say, oh my gosh, I have to serve God now. What's going on? What am I doing? But no, vayashkim Avram baboker. Avram woke up early. His reason, he was excited to do the mitzvah because he was excited to do the mitzvahs of Hashem no matter what it was. Avram is the one who lived this idea of excitement for mitzvahs, and that's why he represents what Hoshana Rabbah is all about. Hoshana Rabbah is about living this simcha, living with the understanding of the fact that we have this honor, we have the privilege of serving Hashem. And that's why we have this day of kapara. That's what this day is all about. I just want to close with an amazing story of Rav Yaakov Emden. Rav Yaakov Emden had a shul, and he was just starting in this shul, a tremendous Talmud Chacham. Everyone knew how lucky they were to have him. And when he would come to the morning, he would say the Birchos HaShachar, and it was a spectacle. He would say the brachos with such kavana. It was such an unbelievable sight to see, and you can hear every word he was saying. And everyone would line up to come and listen to all of the brachos. It was such an exciting event. But they noticed something very strange. For a few mornings in a row, he totally skipped the bracha of Shelo Asani Goy. The bracha that we say in the morning, thanking Hashem for the fact that we're Jewish, that we're part of His people. Rav Yonas and I should skip this bracha a few days in a row. And people started, Rav Yaakov skipped this bracha a few days in a row. And people started to wonder, maybe his ashkafos are all messed up. Maybe it's true he's a big Talmud Chacham, but maybe he doesn't really believe in God. Maybe he doesn't really believe that it's such an honor to be Jewish. So as only a shul president can do, a shul president went over and said, "No, Rabbi, we noticed that for the last few mornings you left out the bracha of Shelo Asani Goy. Is there something we should know? Is there something going on?" And he looked at him and he said, "You think I can wait to shul to say the bracha of Shelo Asani Goy? The second I wake up in the morning, and the second that I realize I have an eternal mission, that I'm living for God, that I'm living for eternity, how can I not say Shelo Asani Goy? The second I wake up, I'm saying that I can't wait until I get here for Birchos HaShachar, for shul. It's something that I live each and every moment of my life. I cannot wait until then." And obviously that's a tremendously high level to be on, but it is our hope that through this day of Hoshana Rabbah we can get this bit of a shift of our focus and remember that yes, things might be difficult, might be hard, and we're not supposed to be on all the time. It's difficult, we're human. But if we can treat the mitzvos, if we can treat our service of God as a privilege, and remember that it's not a burden, it's a tremendous honor that we have, Mirch Hashem, we should all be zocha to a din that is l'chaim tovim, aruchim, l'shalom, and all good things.